back to my channel. I'm Deanna and you're watching Orchid, and it's that time of the month again, and we are going to do the August orchids in bloom. We'll start out here in my living room where I always keep like a little display of some of the blooms currently, and it seems to be foul season at the moment, so I've got quite a few phals that are starting to open up and heaps more that are in spike and on the way. So let's start with this little Paphiopedilum because it has been in bloom since I got back from my honeymoon at the beginning of June, so it's been like nearly 3 months and I'm so impressed. It's still looking as good as new. The colour has faded a little bit, but apart from that, I think you'll agree that she still looks pretty impressive. Yeah, I suppose this is why I love Paphiopedilums. Like, they do require a little bit of patience. Some grow much slower than others, but this one does seem to be an annual winter bloomer. And I've got 2 new growths coming up down here, so I might even get 2 blooms next year, who knows. We'll have a little look at the phals. A couple of the blooms are just wilting a bit earlier than their time, but she is a beautiful mini phal. Still got a little bloom there to go, and she's got a beautiful second spike that's just a really vivid fuchsia colour. And then we've got this Phalaenopsis, which I got maybe 2 months ago from Bunnings, and she's almost in full bloom. I absolutely love her. She is so cute. That veining just fades out on the petals. But look at the lip. It's beautiful yellow and dark pink contrasting. Just a really lovely flower, and I actually ended up naming it after my grandma. So this is Phalaenopsis, and it was pretty cute. I told my grandma on Facebook and I posted pictures of the flowers, and she's apparently been so proud. She's been telling all her friends and all our family that I've named this phal after her. So I've been waiting to find the perfect phal for my grandma, and I think this is it. She's just too pretty. And next to Lorraine we've got Stella, and Stella is named after my grandma's sister. I've had Stella for 2 years now, and she has massive pink blooms. In fact, they're the flowers that are in my YouTube profile pic. So they open up to nearly the size of my face. So that bud back there will actually continue to swell. It's probably only about 2/3 of its end size, and then it opens up into these massive beautiful blooms. And because the flowers are so heavy, it just always forms this amazing cascade. You can see it's not a small plant, but I love her. So here in the phal grow space, I've got lots more spikes happening. Some of them are starting to open up, but really it's around late September, early October that I have the best phal displays, where a lot of my complex hybrid phals are all open at the same time. Let's have a quick look at these guys anyway. This is phal. I've named her Buttercup, but I got her at the same time as Lorraine. She also lost a couple of blooms last week back there, but you can see a few more developing from that spike. I think this one's going to get repot in the next couple of days because it's in that sphagnum mix. I don't usually rush to repot these guys really quickly if they're sort of in their first flush of blooms, especially if they've got decent root systems already, but I think this is a good little window for me to get on and repot that one. This is Allura Victoria's Glory, and she's a beautiful yellow flower. I really love her. She's fragrant as well. She's got a second spike coming up there. This is actually an old spike from last year, and it's continuing to bloom off it. Now, interestingly, it's actually opened up its first flower upside down, which I'm not sure why it's done that, but it looks a bit odd and doesn't make for the best display. But I think the rest of them will open up the correct way. The phals start off with that swollen bit facing up, and then they usually spin around and the lip ends up at the bottom. But yeah, I'm not sure why one of them's upside down and the rest will be the right way, but we'll just go with the flow, won't we? And behind her we've got Phalaenopsis Euclidean with its very first bloom spike and 4 buds developing nicely there. And this is a recent phal, Chin Shing Smile Kitty, and I did a repotting video with this one in it last month, I think. This one is my yellow housewarming gift from my mum. It's got a secondary spike this year coming out of last year's spike. This is my new phal Schilleriana, which has a little spike developing, so it came to me in spike. Nothing too exciting down here. We've got phal Allura Santa Claus with just 1 bud on its first spike, and this is another phal that I got along with Lorraine, and I got it mainly because of the beautiful spotted leaves, but the flowers were already fading on that one, but it's got another little bud developing there. And this one's not phal related, but we are doing orchids in bloom, although it's not in bloom, it's in spike. This is Cloecia Grace Dunn, and she's in full dormancy, however coming out with 1, 2, 3 flower spikes, so I'm very excited about this one. So I purposely avoided repotting this one with the other catasetums actually, because I was suspecting that maybe the little green nubbins were spikes, so I'm very pleased that they are. So we've got a few more on these shelves, and a couple of no ID mini phals that I got about 3 years ago, and they pretty much formed the foundation for my first phals. So there's this one which opens up into a really spotty tropical looking one. You can see the patterns coming up already, so there's an old spike from last year and a new spike developing here. And the other one that's fairly established in my collection is this other cute mini phal. It's beautiful pink, dark pink lip there, and yeah, it's got a beautiful spike developing. Got phal Allura Vesuvius here with a secondary spike coming out there. The blooms are very clustered tightly together here this year, so I'm hoping that the spike extends out a little bit so they can spread a bit more. And we've got a no ID white one, beautiful little throat pattern there. So this one I've called it White Memory, but my friends gave it to me last year when Sebastian passed away. I actually really like the thought of phals for, I guess, sentimental value and for events and things like that, because if you can keep them and rebloom them, they'll just bloom at the same time every year, and it'll help you remember whatever that occasion or sentiment was every single year. And the last one in spike here is this one. This is one that my grandma gave me. This is actually one of my first as well, so my gran was the one that got me into orchids by giving me all her old orchids, so this is one of them. And unfortunately this flower only lasted about a month because of the humidity last week, and I also had the fan in here running, and it must have just tipped these flowers over the edge, but it's got more flowers coming off this spike and a new spike developing over here, so I'm sure we'll get more beautiful blooms on this one very soon. Now over here we've got my Cattleya Bella. Oh, and look, we've got a little friend here. Is that a praying mantis or a grasshopper? I find it difficult to tell sometimes. I think it's a praying mantis. That's okay, I will keep a praying mantis. Grasshopper, probably I would go ahead and just deal with that because I don't like grasshoppers, but praying mantises actually help to kill some of my other pests, so you can stick around. Anyway, check out these blooms, guys. They are just phenomenal, and when the light hits them, they're so fragrant. Unfortunately, I lost one of the flowers because it was actually caught in the sheath. So these sheaths are really stiff. I might have to cut them to free the flowers from now on, but you can see kind of back here I do have some more buds developing, so I might actually just cut that sheath off and let them develop freely. I'm gonna name him Trevor. He's a bit cute. So here's one I picked up from a local nursery a couple of months ago, and this one is called Chow Prior Sunset, and I got her in bud, in spike. Check out these blooms. They're not really big, you can see the size of my finger there, but the colour, like that yellow colour, it does look like a sunset. It's really pretty. You can see when the light hits it, it's really nice. And it's got a beautiful patterning. You can see the two lower sepals have a denser spotting. Really nice. So down here we do have my speciosum in bloom with a fairly unimpressive bloom spike. I got this one last year with several bloom spikes, probably about 3 or 4 large spikes. So this is quite short and just a single spike there off an old cane, but that's because I accidentally left it in direct sun on a 40-degree day and got very stressed, burnt off its back bulbs. But it's pulling through. So you've got this new pseudobulb developing there, and the flowers themselves are really, really lovely. So you can see the little stripes there in the center. I love the shape of this bloom, and it's very fragrant. It smells like a peppermint tea with a little dash of honey. I absolutely love it. I know some people don't like the smell of Dendrobium speciosums, but I really, really love it. It's really lovely. So you guys, it is Epidendrum season. This is Epidendrum Wedding Valley Sakura, and it is just so pretty. You can see these spikes form like a globe of flowers. And last year I had this one bloom, and all the spikes look like this, like really sparse, not very exciting, but I'm really happy to see that this big spike has formed this circular sort of appearance, and it's got another spike developing here. So I think really that's dependent on the size of the cane. You can see that the cane that this one's coming from is quite a sizable one. It's the biggest one yet, and it had the energy to bring out this beautiful spike. And this is my Epidendrum Tiny Valley Mahina, and she is one of my favorites. I just absolutely adore these individual blooms, and they glisten in the light. So the best thing about epidendrums is that they are sequential bloomers, and it'll just continue to bring out more and more of these buds from the tip there through spring. Now I've got a couple more epidendrums here. This is one that we repot together, and if you remember, that new growth was teeny tiny, and there it is back there. The spike is quite thin, and I feel like that's probably because I did repot it while it was in spike, but it's still managing to produce some buds there. This one here is Wayne's fuchsia, and I thought it was developing a spike, but that spike has stalled. It is bringing out a little spike down here though, out of an old flower spike. It's only got a couple of buds on that one, so I don't think it's going to be much of a display, but at least I get to see what the flowers look like. Whenever I'm home, I do try and keep these blinds open just for a couple of hours in the morning. By about 10:30 a.m. it's really too hot, but they love a little bit of morning light. So up here we've got some Talumnias, and I got them at the same time as I got that Vanda. You can see they're in spike. This one's in spike and this one is actually in bloom, and unfortunately I'm quite disappointed with these blooms. Can you see these flowers? It's like they're all missing a lip. So it did bring out one bloom, which is faded now, but this one did have a white lip, and it just provided this beautiful contrast to it. But the others seem a little bit deformed. Not sure if this is a first blooming for this one. It does look like a reasonably sized plant, but yeah, it might just be a first blooming, and the flowers just aren't quite as good as they could be. And we've got a couple of cattleyas in bloom down here. This one is Sylvia Fry crossed with Brunswick Bonanza. Now, she is actually one of my biggest Cattleya flowers. You can see it's bigger than my hand. I can fit my whole hand behind that flower. However, this year, for some reason, its petals are reflexed forward quite a bit. And you can see that when they reflex forward, it sort of makes the flower smaller in a way. You can imagine if like these petals were spread out a little bit, gosh, my hand's too small to spread them out properly, but it would make the flower much bigger. Here we've got my Cattleya intermedia amethystina, and she's a beautiful waxy flower with a little hint of purple just in the lip there. And this was one of my sick orchids that I treated a few months ago, and I did make a video. We soaked this one in bleach and it seems to be doing okay. So it's still got a bunch of viable roots. It's potted up quite high in that pot, but still hasn't brought out any new roots. So I might enjoy these blooms for just a little bit longer, but I might have to cut them a little bit early. Over here we've got my other Rhynchostylis gigantea. Well, actually it's a gigantea cross. It's actually called Phalaenopsis Dixie Delight, and she's in bloom at the moment. Beautiful spotty one. It's got the same fragrance as the gigantea actually, which is why I always think it's another gigantea. It's got beautiful purple spots. It's a bigger flower actually than the gigantea blooms. But yeah, I think I would have gotten a better spike, but these plants all got left without any care for over 3 weeks while I was away because my house sitter was meant to look after them bailed. But I think it's a pretty good effort, and it's growing on really well now with a new leaf there. And out here we've got one of my few nobly types, pretty complex hybrid. Yeah, red fairy crossed with superstar, crossed with Romeo. So I just call this one Romeo. Lovely fragrant blooms, and it's got lots of spikes. You can see up this cane there's a few spikes. You can see a few peeking through there. However, a couple of them have turned into cakeys. So there's one cakey there, and I'm pretty sure this one will turn into a cakey. I don't think that'll be a bud. So I'm not sure why some of them are cakeys and some of them are buds, but I do think these ones down here are looking a lot more promising. Let me just have a little closer look at the flower. It is quite pretty. Now last of all, I thought we could finish up in the upstairs grow space. There's not a lot going on here, and you guys have seen this one a couple of times now, but this is my Colmanara Wildcat Bloodshot, and she's so pretty. I just had to share her with you again. I think one thing I do need to work on a little bit is how to get like nice arrangements of the spikes when they form. Like this one's not too bad, but you can see that they're sort of pointing in opposite directions, and it'd be nicer if some of these flowers were a little bit closer together so that you could see them all at the same time. Anyway, I've got another spike developing here, which was a bit of a surprise on my Oncidium Space Race Chanel. And the last thing I wanted to show you guys was this Owanagara Apple Blossom spike, which I did post on the community page, and it's grown a little bit since then, but I am so looking forward to these blooms. So I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blooms. But we'll see. I'm very excited. Alright everyone, well Trevor has actually hung out with me for the entire filming. I wonder if you can keep praying mantises as pets. They're pretty cute. I suppose I've got this other one in my lap at the moment. Hey Frankie, hey, you want to meet Trevor? Actually, don't eat him. Who's gonna eat him? Alright, well I hope you guys enjoyed this August Orchies in Bloom. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more orchid videos. I hope you guys have a great week, and happy growing until I see you next time.